On my way to work, I saw a church member, and she was also going to work. And this is around central London, Liverpool Street, Broadgate area. In this area, we have the big financial companies and the law firms. And she was walking into one of the law firms, and we conversed and stuff, and it really dawned on me. I'm working in one of the biggest media companies that produces African content in London. Same spot I was remembering my creative friends from African and then Caribbean backgrounds were working in the creative field, in film, TV, in the medical sector, in sports, in entertainment, in tech, in education. A lot of us are working in senior roles. Then it dawned on me that the sacrifices, the hard work of our parents, what they worked for from the 70s, 80s, 90s till now, has paid off. A lot of our parents started from back home. A lot of our parents started working in Nigeria, in Ghana, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and then moved across to the United Kingdom. And in this process, they could not find the same level of jobs that they did back home. And our parents then worked hard to position us to be where we are right now.
My mother kind of, came over in the 70s and 80s, no real support system, came over when she was 21 and made a life for herself with no parents, no family members, and has made a better life for all of us.
We've come a long way. The positions that we're in now, the jobs that even now the labour market has changed, the job market has changed. There are certain careers, like the way tech has taken off. Of course, new opportunities are being opened there. However, the progression has definitely been made from coming to another country and having to start all over again. Like my parents did cleaning jobs around the clock as well. You do a night shift and then you go and do a day shift and you come home and you eat and you nap for an hour and you go back out again. It was round the clock. But although I still work hard in my role, I didn't have to do that.
They really started this progression by investing in us through financial investment, time investment, making sure homework is done, making sure we're studying, making sure we don't lack for anything. They gave us, they made available everything we needed to succeed.
I went to an equivalent of a grammar school for year ones or reception when I was younger. And the teacher that was my year one or reception teacher, I can't remember who it was, said that I was very clever and that my mum should keep an eye on me throughout my education process to make sure that I'm going to the best universities and getting the best out of the education system in the UK. And I think my mum heard that and said, okay, it sounds like she's going to either Oxford or Cambridge, and then pushed through from year one up until I got the offer from Oxford.
I would say in terms of strategy, they realised that with education, you have to make sacrifices to reap the benefits long term. So each of them took on additional jobs to make sure they can afford for us to have different lessons and different tutoring sessions, just to make sure that we were definitely on top of maths, English and science. So aside from the core subjects we had tutoring for, they would also give us instrument lessons. So I played the flute, piano, cello, you name it, I probably played it. And my sister played the trumpet, my little brother played the drums and piano. So they really invested and they made it very clear to us that they don't care what we want to be, as long as we have a clear goal of what we want to do, and they'll support us in that. And they really did kind of reinforce that throughout. So they were very instrumental in making sure that we had all of these different experiences to help shape and decide what we actually want to do.
When we talk about the Windrush generation, my grandparents, my parents, when they came here in the late 40s, early 50s, quite a few of them were professional people, quite well educated. Not all of them, but some were. And quite often they took on jobs that were really below their education level, but it was a foot in the door for them to get into the country and build a new life.
If I start from right at the beginning, we're talking about, like, you know, my mum working at KFC, and this is someone with a banking and finance degree from Nigeria, right? My dad as well, when I was really young, he was working 2 jobs. He was a security officer by night, and then during the day he was like a postman, and then he moved into like admin officer at the Home Office. So they literally just grinding their way to the top.
I think she always wanted to be on TV. So she worked at a radio station when she was in Nigeria. And I think she would have loved to be able to have done that. But like, you know, the climate and the ability for Black women, Nigerian accent, to come into British television and be able to be accepted, I think the climate just wasn't there at the time. But I think that if she could have her time again, she would try and do that for sure.
It's sad to say, but there have been events that have happened, like George Floyd, that have meant that, you know, people are more aware of the issue of kind of, you know, racism, lack of diversity and inclusion within the workplace. But it's also helped us Black people to get to more senior positions. For example, I know within my firm, there was a target that they put in place off the back of George Floyd, where they were just like, look, we need to get X% of people, Black people specifically, in senior positions by a certain time period.
I think there have been some various schemes like affirmative action type things, but I think most of it has come from aspiration and visibility. You know, I know I said earlier that not everybody needs that, but that does make a difference. If you can see people who are lawyers, if you can see people who are doing professional roles, if you've got role models like in your own family who have already been through the mill, like you know, as a second generation person, that is what really helps with representation, I think, and that's probably helps more than the affirmative action.
At present, what we see is that a lot of, for example, singers and rappers, where they are more likely to be identifiable because they are of the same ethnicity, that's where we're seeing a lot of people aspiring towards. What we need to see is more people from a diverse range of companies coming in. My cousin has agreed to come in to talk about medicine that she's now into. So things like that, we need to be welcoming more people into schools to share their experiences and to make other people realise that it is actually possible. I can do it. If they can do it, so can I.
Are we doing what we need to do for the next generation? Personally, I don't think so. As a generation, I don't think so. The next thing or the goal for the next generation is to get to, and I honestly think that what the Asian community has done is something that would be great to see the Black community do. So we have a generation, or their generation, of business owners, landowners, politicians, you know, CEOs. Their presence is known, and their presence is known in a number of high positions. And it would be great for our generations to solve and allow for that.
Because of the work they will put in, my great-grandparents, grandparents, my parents, and so on, like, I can dream bigger. My vision can be wider, you know, my horizon is wider. Like, there's more that I can see for myself, and then I can only imagine what that would be like for my own children and grandchildren years from now. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that the progression that we have seen, it will continue to be that way.